that way. So I'm going to start here with number 6 from student exam 1. I believe that we have not looked at that one yet. All right, so if you can see my screen, you see that the question is if 1 over a, I'm sorry, they give you an equation at the top and then they give you some given information here. So they say if 1 over a equals minus 5 over 4, what is the value of k? So you're essentially solving for k. And just if you were, let's just say there was a number over here on the right, what would you do on the left to make that more simple? Do you recall?
The common denominator?
Yes, exactly. So you can do that at any time here. I'm probably going to do that first. Let me just rewrite it over here. I'm going to put -1 over 5k, and then we're just going to do a few things here. I'm going to say plus minus 1 over 4k plus minus 1 over 1k equals a. So what's the common denominator between 5, 4, and there's a 1 there? Least common multiple, sorry.
20, I guess.
Say that again?
20.
20, exactly. So we're going to multiply the top and bottom by 4, top and bottom by 5, top and bottom by 20. -4 over 20k plus -5 over 20k plus -20 over 20k equals a. So we're in good shape here. The top becomes -29 over 20k equals a. When you look at the answers, you can see a couple of them already have the 29s in there, so we're kind of on the right track with that. This information that I'm boxing in here, how can we use that to solve for a?
Plug that in. Plug -5/4.
Okay, so there's a couple of ways we can do this. There's sort of the direct method, which is to solve what's in the box here, which I'll write down below here. Solve this for a, and to do that you'll cross multiply. So 4 equals -5a, and then a equals 4 over -5. Okay, so we could use that over here, and that's what we're going to do. So -29 over 20k equals 4 over -5. But it looks like now that we have to cross multiply again.
Okay.
So this is where there's a couple of things here. I'm going to point one out. There's a step here and a step here that could help to shorten it, and even one here, but I'll come back to that. So the negatives here, they cancel out. You end up getting 145 equals 80k, and then you divide both sides by 80. So k equals, and then we got to start reducing this. So they're both divisible by 5. That's 29 over 16. So we'll look back and we see that that answer is there. It is a.
All right.
So there's a couple really important things here that I want to mention here. So we got to this step right here. So I'm going to copy this. And these are the kinds of things that will save you time on the test that they don't necessarily really emphasize, but they really will save you time here. So we know this, and we know from the problem that 1 over a equals -5 over 4. So you'll listen to that 1 over a equals -5 over 4. So on the left side here, you can flip the right side. So if you flip the right side to make it 1 over a, you have to flip the left side to get 20k over -29. Now, why is that beneficial? Well, this -5 over 4 can immediately go there. You don't have to substitute for the variable. You can substitute for like 1 over a or 2a or a over 3. You can do any of those combinations. You just have to know that if you have the same thing, you can substitute for it. So this is 20k equals -29 equals -5 over 4. So you might think, well, Matthew, that doesn't seem that much simpler. Well, I made another asterisk here. There's some cancellations that you can make here. So you can always go vertical.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is like 2 over 4 equals 1/2. Okay. You can always do that, but you can also go horizontal. So in this case, if we have like 20 over 30 equals 5 over 4, the 5 goes into the 20, and that's 4 times. And like 2 goes into 4 and becomes 15. So you can go horizontal. So here, this 5 becomes a 1, this becomes a 4.
Okay.
All right. So then, I mean, that it makes this a little bit better. Those are the types of things that you're looking for to help do this problem. So now that I've shown you how to work through it, let me pull the same question, but different numbers from Student Exam 2,
Okay.
and let's see if you can solve it on your own. And so as a reminder, you're trying to solve these in about 60 seconds, 80 seconds is the most you would be able to spend, but go ahead and start and I'll be quiet here for about a minute. Are you close to solving this problem?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Let me see if I can simplify this and then. Okay, well, I didn't get any of those. I got negative 13 or 15.
So you're close to like A or B. So that's a good sign. Did you get it down to 13 over 15k equals A?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. What did you find that A equals?
Negative 3 over 2.
So 1 over A
I
equals
mean, oh,
negative
I'm
3.
sorry. 2 A equals 2 over negative 3.
And you probably want to move that to the top. So let's it's 13 over 15k equals negative 2 over 3. Is that
So
okay?
yes. So
So now
that,
I said you could cancel horizontally, and that's really important. This becomes a 1, this becomes a 5, and then you can cross multiply. So there's a 5k here on the bottom. So you get 1 times 13 equals negative 2 times 5k. So you get 13 equals negative 10k. So k equals 13 over negative 10, or negative 13 over 10.
I did. So if you were cross multiply, so it'd be 39 over negative 30. Is that what you would get when you, or
So,
negative
so
k?
you're saying, okay, I don't want to make those cancellations quite yet. So you're saying I'm going to multiply 3 times 13 and then negative 2 times 15k. So that's 39 equals negative 30k. And then you divide both sides by negative 30. So k equals 39 over negative 30. And then you have to divide both of those by 3. So see how you have to do that anyway. And that's
Yeah.
it's a skill that I just can't quite get across, but it's so necessary to do these before the last step, because it really helps with the
Yeah,
calculations.
I did 13 times 2 instead of 13 times 3, which is where I got 26 from. And then, yeah.
So let me briefly show you the, I'm not sure what I'm showing. I hope it's the PDF. I just want to remind you that the student 2 exam solutions, as well as the first exam solutions, they're here, and they show you step by step what to do to be able to solve this problem. And it's written in such a way that it tells you what to do, like write the first equation, write second equation, and then it tells you to rewrite using definition of reciprocal. It doesn't tell you why, it just tells you mechanically, like, this is what you do. So
Yeah.
if you have any other questions about like why we're doing something, I'm trying to fill that in here. But for now, that's what we're doing. So let me see if I can find another question here. Looks like number 7 is one that we have not done yet, so let me grab that. As a side note, you're the second person I've talked to that has had their wisdom teeth out. It seems like people are doing them earlier and earlier. I recall it being sort of an early adult thing, like 18, 19, but
Yeah, I went to go get my consultation in like November, and they were like, you should get them out in the next 6 months because mine were like growing like super fast. So I got them
good.
out on Friday.
Wow,
Today's
you're
Thursday.
doing great if you're already ready to do a lesson.
Yeah.
All right, this one is a really, really complicated problem, and this would be an example of a question. Let me share my screen. That you may even want to, you may read it and realize, wow, there's so much going on here that I just it's going to take me a really long time. And I'll try to point out, I want to point out some language in this question that you'll see and all the other and the questions like this. So just read this last one with me here. I'll read it out loud. Which of the following is the maximum weight of fruits and vegetables that may be purchased? If you're seeing my screen, I'm highlighting that or illustrating that point there because the whenever it says which of the following, that's a big deal. Which of the following means that you literally have to almost check each answer, and that's very slow. There's not always a direct way to solve it. Like, it's relying on you to actually use the answers to figure out what's correct, and that's sometimes problematic because it just takes too long. So let's read through, and I'll see if I can help explain that here. For some reason, I always keep wondering if I'm sharing my screen correctly. Okay. At the end of summer, an indoors farmer's market sells cranberries for $3.15 per kilogram. At a nearby outdoor farmer's market, potatoes are sold for $2.30 per kilogram. To gain access to the indoor market, a shopper must pay a fee of $14. To gain access to the outdoor market, a shopper must pay $6. If a shopper only has $40 and wants to buy produce at both markets, which of the following is the maximum weight of fruits and vegetables that may be purchased? So there's 2 markets. There's the indoor one and there's an outdoor one.
Mhm.
What is the cost to enter the indoor market?
14.
$14. Okay. And then cranberries are sold there for $3.15 per pound. At the outdoor market, there's a $6 fee to get in, and it's $2.30 per pound. I use different variables here because we don't know how much of each that they're buying. Like in the first one, it's X is 4 and Y is 2.
Mhm.
But their total cost, if we add these together, their total cost is 20 plus $3.15 X plus $2.30 Y. How much do they have to spend?
Wait, where did you get the 20 plus?
I'm adding these. I'm adding these
Oh,
together.
you're just adding. I see.
Yeah,
I see.
because they want to shop at both. They want to shop at both markets.
Okay.
So by shopping at both markets, that tells you you got to consider both. You can't just say, oh, well, they're going to spend all their money at one market or the other.
Got you. Okay.
This is also an example of a question where you really have to know what they're asking for, because there's a lot of forks that could take you down the wrong path here. So they have a maximum of $40, which means that the total cost here has to be less than or equal to 40.
Mm-hmm.
So if you subtract 20 from both sides, and you do that because they have to spend that no matter what, because they're going to buy at both markets. The most they can spend is $20 when they buy the cranberries and the potatoes. So in this example here, what do you notice that's, and I asked this question, when you look at the answer space, I call this the answer space, there's two questions you generally ask. What's the same and what's different? I mean, I notice here that each one of them has 4 kilograms for cranberries.
Yeah.
That's what's the same, 4 kilograms. So we know that's a given, $3.15 times 4 plus $2.30 y. Well, what's different about these? Well, they go up by 1 each time. Now, how many variables are in this equation on the right?
One.
1 variable, which means we should be able to solve for y, okay? Now the numbers aren't great, but they're remember it looks bad, but it's $3 times 4, which is $12. 15 cents times 4, that's 60 cents. So it's $12.60 plus $2.30 y less than or equal to 20. So just like I subtracted the 20 up here in this step, you can subtract the $12.60 up here
Mm-hmm.
in this step. So the 2 to 30 cents y less than or equal to $7.40. So again, it feels like, oh my God, I need a calculator. I need a calculator. Well, you might think that, but we're not solving exactly how many kilograms. We're just solving roughly. So y equals 1. That works, but it's not. I'm sorry. Y equals 2 works, but 2.3 times 2 is 460. There's still room in there. 2.3 times 3 is $6.90. $2.30 times 4 is $9.20. That's too high. So we know that the most that they would buy is the 3 kilograms to stay within their budget.
Gotcha. Okay.
So this is the correct answer here. So guessing would have been a very bad strategy here, because unless you just guessed to move on because you wanted to save your time for their questions, to solve this, you really had to try the answers. You kind of could solve it, but you had to look at them along the way. Like if this were like 3 and 2, 5 and 3, 4 and 5, you would have to try those to see if they worked.
Mm-hmm.
But the answer space, which is something you want to look at when you're doing these questions, really helps when you're doing some of these problems. So what I'd like you to do is actually work on that another time, because it's kind of it's one of those questions that's in there that's almost like only the students that are getting the perfect scores are going to even have time to attempt. And there's usually ones like that. They're just so difficult that you're like, am I even supposed to be solving this? Um,
Yeah.
and so you have to be on the lookout for that. So let's move to number 9. So number 9 says, and I'm going down to the question, it says, which of the following? So whenever it's a which of the following, that means you almost have to scan through all 4 answers or 5 answers before you make your decision. Which of the following expressions describes the total number of baked goods made by the pair in the next 3 weeks? So we obviously have to go back and read the rest of the question, but there's the first strategy here is you solve, or in this case, you write the expression, and then you compare it to the answer space. A second strategy is you make steps towards the answer, but then you're always looking at the answers.
Okay.
Like you don't want to just, because if you do one and like you did in question 6 when I asked you to do on your own, when the answer wasn't there, you got to restart it. If you're kind of looking the whole way, you can, and there's risk with number 2. You can maybe make a false, assumption or misstep or something. So you just got to be careful with that as well. So we're gonna just read through and we'll see what happens. So bakery in Virginia Beach makes turnovers on Mondays and waffles on Saturdays. Julia can make T turnovers per hour, and Julie can make V waffles per hour. Julia only works 11 hours on Mondays, and Julie only works 7 hours on Saturdays. So this is another kind of example of something you might see in questions where the names are very similar. And they also do this with letters as well, but that's intentional. It truly is Julia, who's a different person than Julie,
I'm
is working
looking
at
up.
different places. So um, baked goods here, the number of baked goods is equal to the rate times the time.
Okay.
So, for example, here we've got Julia. So Julia makes V waffles per hour. She makes V waffles per hour, and she works. Sorry, Julia makes V waffles per hour, and she works 11 hours on Monday, or in one day a week. She only works one day a week.
Wait, so then wouldn't she be making turnovers, not waffles?
Sorry, I've already confused myself. Julia makes T turnovers. I'm sorry. Yes. Let me start again. You caught me in a tongue twister here because
Yeah.
I'm misreading this myself. So T turnovers per hour, and Julia works only 11 hours on one day a week. So it says Monday, but she only works Monday. Julie Julie makes V waffles per hour, and she works 7 hours on Saturday, which we're going to say is one day a week. So in 1 week, this is the number of baked goods in 1 week. So if you recall from some of your other classes, you can cancel, you can make some cancellations here. This is 11T plus 7V. So is that answer there? Yes, like it looks like it's letter A. Would you agree?
Yeah.
But it says in the next 3 weeks. So there's a couple of things I can emphasize here. The first is that A is, and I say this way, is the most common wrong answer, meaning that it's an intermediate answer. A is often an intermediate answer. In this case, it is an intermediate answer. It's not always the case that that's true, but when you get A, you have to make sure, especially when it says which of the following, that you didn't look ahead to some of the other ones here. So in this case, in 3 weeks, they make 3 times this much. So in 3 weeks, it's 3 times 11T plus 7V. That's 33T plus 21V. Is that answer there? Yes, it is. It's letter C. Do you see also how answer A and answer D are very similar, except they have the swapping or transposing of um, letters and numbers?
Yeah.
Same thing with B
Yeah.
and C. So that's why 2 is a good strategy. Like you're always analyzing the answers. Like I read it like this, which means that you're kind of always looking, is this right? Is this right? Can I cross something out? Can I not cross something out? But you're making steps. You're not just starting with the answers. So if that was somewhat clear, and I hope it was, let's have you try number 9 in student exam 2. I'm gonna snip it in here. It's actually I gave you the question from student 2 exam, so I'll go back to number 9 in student 1 exam, and I'll that. So one of the problems here is that because you're seeing it so soon, it should go really quickly because it's essentially the same steps. But go ahead and give that a try here and let me know what you come up with.
Is it A?
The answer is A, yes.
Okay.
So the real test will be, can you do this again in
Here.
on your own when you're seeing this question, a different time. Because it's very easy when you see the steps. Okay, I just did this. Now I'm just doing the
Yeah.
same thing. Uh, but what you're seeing here is that there's a mixture of story questions is one, word problems, and then just uh, regular algebra type questions. The next problem we're going to look at, it appears to be just a very standard algebra question.
Uh-huh.
But there's always little wrinkles and warts to these things. You're not just getting a standard like, hey, just solve for X. There's always something that's just a little bit different about these things to make it so that you can't just solve the way you do in your classroom now. And that's just the way the test is. So let's read this question. They give you an equation. So we've seen a couple of those. Sometimes they give you an equation at the top. I think sometimes it's below, but I for my formatting, I chose to put it at the top. If h of x, so notice h of x is not what's there, is g of x minus 5. So I have to figure out what that means. Which of the following is the x-intercept of h of x? So for example, if I gave you a function, if I told you that f of x, I'm sorry, let me use the correct letters here. Let's say that g of x equals x squared, and I said h of x equals g of x minus 5, you would know that that's x squared minus 5. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So you're just appending that to the end. And in other words, it just shifts it down. This is just a downward shift of 5. So take g of x, your g of x function here, minus 7, absolute value 8x plus 7 plus 6, and then you're going to subtract 5 to it. And that's your h of x. So what does it mean if something has an x-intercept?
Touches the x-axis.
It crosses the x-axis. This is an absolute value function. So we know that it could have 2 intercepts. It could have 1 if it touches. It could have none, but this one seems to indicate that it has at least 1, maybe 2.
Okay.
But in terms of like here, there's really 2 options. There's either setting x equal to 0 or setting h of x equal to 0. And this is what makes the test so challenging, is like you have to know this and then do something with it. You can't just um, you can't just so setting h of x, you do this for the y-intercept. Setting h of x equals 0 is for the x-intercept. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to set 0 equal to minus 7 absolute value 8x plus 7, and then plus 1. So how do you feel about solving absolute value equations?
Don't exactly remember how to do it. So, wait, so you should move the 1 over first, right?
Absolutely. So you're going to move the 1 over, and what you're doing, all of these steps that we're about to talk about, you're going to isolate the absolute value term.
Okay, so then you should divide by -7.
That's right.
Okay, and then you get 1 over 7. Um, and this is where I stop.
Okay, so there's two things here. You're setting when you have the absolute value of something, or call it f equals c. There's two cases. You set f equal to c and f equal to minus c.
Oh yes, I
So
remember.
so
Okay.
in your problem, you're going to set 8x plus 7 equal to 1 over 7, 8x plus 7 equal to negative 1 over 7. And you have to solve them both. You can't just hope. I mean, you could, but if you hope and pick wrong, you'll not get the right answer. So that doesn't work out. It's easy for me to say because I mean I can sort of look ahead, but truly you have to be willing to. So a couple things here, like you might want to just multiply both sides by 7 to get rid of the fraction. 56x plus 49 equals 1. And then 56x equals negative 48. And then you divide by 56, so you get negative 48 over 56, negative 24 over 28, negative 12 over 14, negative 6 over 7. Don't think that one's there. Nope.
Okay.
So we have to do this other side. So I'm going to recommend the same strategy, multiplying by 7. Now, you don't have to. You could subtract 7, but then you're going to deal with fractions. Totally okay, whatever you end up doing. 56x plus 49 equals negative 1. So now 56x equals negative 50. And
X
then
equals negative.
you'll see that answer is not there, but if you divide by 2, that answer is negative 25 over 28 is right there. No way to get that without doing the problem. So this is an example of a problem where you have to solve it. The answers don't really help you at all. You just have to get the right answer. You have to know this algebra step here of like how you solve absolute values, things like that. So probably good for you to spend as much time as you need, but I know you usually take notes. Did I just grab student? So let me snip the equivalent question from student 2 test.
Okay.
And I want you to take as much time as you need to solve this, but it's the exact same steps, different numbers.
Okay.
So give yourself at least 2 to 3 minutes to do that.
If you have a negative inside the absolute value, like negative 5x, does that become 5x or does it stay negative?
It stays as negative 5x. There's implied parentheses in there, like there's really a parenthesis there and there. So it's whatever's inside parentheses that becomes the left side. You only change the number on the right.
Okay. Okay, I'm a bit stuck. Okay, so I got 2 equals absolute value of negative 5x minus 1 when I like simplified it all.
Like this.
Yes.
Okay. So you got to solve, you got to set negative 5x minus 1 equal to 2.
Yeah, I did
Negative
that.
5x minus 1 equal to negative 2.
Okay, I did both of those. So then I got x on the left one, I got x equals 3 over 5. Oh, it's negative 5.
So this, the reason this happened is you did not account for this negative 3.
Oh, yes.
So the first step here is, I mean, that's super critical. So actually none of this is good. It's g of x equals negative 2 absolute value negative 5x minus 1 plus 4 minus 3. So that's g of x equals negative 2 absolute value negative 5x minus 1 plus 1.
I see. Okay.
And then you set it equal to 0. So I'll let you carry it on from here. I think you'll find the right answer.
Okay. Okay, so B is what I'm getting.
You think so you said B?
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the solutions here. Yep, negative 3 over 10.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay, so let me do this. I'm going to go to student 3 exam, and I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share a different screen here. Student 3 exam consists of 10 questions that are just like all the other questions that we've done. up through today's lesson. And my question to you is, I guess, do you think, and you have to do, I don't want you to do it right now because we want to use this last time for keep covering skills, but do you think you can commit to doing this today, at some point today? Because it really would be helpful for you to do that.
Yeah, I could do that today.
Okay. So what you're going to see, even within these 10 questions, is all of the types of questions that you might see: story questions, pictures, equations, some questions that are pretty simple for giving you for in terms of the math, like 9 doesn't really have much math involved, just as multiplying a few numbers together.
Mhm.
So keep that in mind when you're when you're doing it. Some should take longer than the others, but the average is about 2 to 3 minutes, or sorry, 60 to 80 seconds, but you can give yourself a little more time while you're practicing.
Okay.
Okay, so I've got another practice set of practice exams that I can give you. Go ahead.
Sorry. Are there any questions on these? Because I know, like on the SAT, like the last like 4 questions of the math ones are like free response where you like bubble in your own.
Yeah, so the that was a real challenge of mine, was trying to decide how to incorporate that. Some of these questions lend themselves really well to it. Like we can do number one without knowing that, but some of them don't.
Yeah.
Those will not say which of the following. They'll just say to solve. Um, I can I can print you a test with some of those questions in it, but the multiple choice helps for now.
Yeah.
And if you don't want them, you can just cover it up for the meantime. But
Okay.
I agree. It's kind of an important skill to be able to find the answer without having the answer. All right, let's do number one on this new practice test. It's a question that is on the one that I sent you.
Okay.
It's actually the same fork. Almost every question has at least 2 forks. So somehow, well, that was by design. No, it wasn't. Anyway, you get some overlap on these. So it says, what is the value of the quadratic function g of x shown in the graph above at x equals 0? Depending on the print quality, you may not be able to easily say that that's the origin there, where I've drawn the little crosshairs. You can tell though by the data point. The data points is 1, 2, 3, and up 16 if you want to count. So you can get there. At 0, it's way down here. And we don't know which one it is. It could be any of those reasonably. So we covered this question last week. You have to know the equation of a quadratic function. There's 2 equations. There's ax squared plus bx
Wait,
plus.
are you writing something right now?
I was. Thank you for reminding me. I boy, I used to have a second computer that I would add to make sure I was always sharing, and I felt like I was doing a good job,
No problem.
but but I wasn't today. So it's equation 1 on the left, and then equation 2 on the right. So you have to know which equation to start with. You could actually use either of them, but what I would suggest here is the one on the right, because you can figure out the vertex. You can figure out the vertex by counting, okay? And then I suppose there's another version of this, which is actually what this problem uses, is you can always go x minus the 0, x minus the 0. That's also another option. I think that's what the solution shows, but either of these is okay. You'd have to believe that that's the vertex, and you have to be able to believe that, okay, 316, so it's at 4, 17, 18. So we can do it a bunch of different ways. Let's use the vertex today.
Okay.
So the vertex is h comma k. So that means our equation of the quadratic g of x is a x minus 4 squared plus 18. Not enough information to figure out what happens at 0, but we can use this other ordered pair, 3 comma 16, and substitute that in.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we can do this and we can solve for a. That is not our answer, but so if this were like a free response, you might get to a and be done, and you'd realize, oh no, I'm not done. So this is 16 equals a minus 1 squared plus 18. Subtract 18 to get negative 2 equals a times 1. So a is negative 2. We should not be surprised by that because the parabola opens down. So our function g of x equals -2 x minus 4 squared plus 18.
Okay.
So now we want to know what happens at 0. That's what we're interested in. It's -2, 0 minus 4 squared plus 18. -2 times -4 squared plus 18. -2 times 16 plus 18. -32 plus 18. The answer is -14. Now, having known you and helped you for a while now, like I know that you like, or maybe I shouldn't say, you tend to put this much detail into your written work. One
Yeah.
of the slowest things is to write on the SAT.
Yeah.
So the more that you can go from step 1 to step 2 to the end,
The better.
the better. But what's the risk? If you make a mistake, you got to go back. These are all trade-offs. These are the opportunity cost of your time. I can only tell you these things. There are exercises to help like get better at this, but they're very painful. It's like, all right, we're just going to simplify equations and see where we're at. But that's something you got to be on the lookout for, is because you're going to want to tend to write a lot, and it could be an issue. So let me pull up the student 2 exam in this new one. I'm going to snip in the question. It's basically, surprised I'm, that's really interesting. So the side notes, I'm seeing some things here in the software that I didn't expect to see, but it's um, so give yourself a couple minutes here. We've only got 3 minutes left anyway, so why don't you try solving this one, and
Okay.
I'll be silent here while you're working on it, and we can talk.
Is the H or the vertex at like -3.5
Yeah, so this is one where
or something?
this is one where it's better to use this form. G of x equals a x minus the 0, x minus the 0, because like you just said, well, I kind of don't know where it is. It's like, looks like it's 3.5 comma 12.5.
Yeah.
And that's no good. You don't want to play that game. But you know the zeros are right at nice places. There's one at 1, and there's one at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
Did you get the value that a equals -2?
Yes.
Okay. So that means that it opens down, and that's what you expected because it does open down.
So then from there you plug it in.
You want to write the equation so that you can figure out what happens at 8. So g of 8 is 8 minus 1, 8 minus 6. So that's -28.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to send you the lesson notes and this green recording here shortly. If you want to get this same time next week, it is open if you want to schedule that on the website, tutoringbymatthew.com. And thanks again for scheduling. And I can send you that next test if you want it when you schedule again.
Okay, perfect. And I'll work on the third one.
All
Sometime.
right. Thanks, Emilia. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Now.